Good morning. How are you today? Well, it's chilly and gray, but it's okay. I just hate that we were teased by the spring. And happy St. Paddy's Day. You know, they say about the Irish, all their wars are merry and all their songs are sad. Another one, of course, is this a private fight or can anybody get in? Um, there is also the expression that a naked Irishman swimming to a foreign shore, as he arrives there and stands up, and the first person he sees, he says, "Where's the government? I'm again it." So there you have the you have the prejudicial profile of an Irishman. As a kid in the South Bronx, where it was a mixed neighborhood, we all had fistfights, and it wasn't such a big deal to us because I don't know, you just got used to it. My dad got down on his knees in my first fight when I was about 5 or 6 years of age and showed me how to take a punch, you know. So in terms of taking a punch, I'd like to go revisit Biden's victory again in light of the intelligence report that's been much discussed on TV. And I'm not going to go over what they did, you know. Rudy, we all knew, was a tool of false information, disinformation, and he would say or do anything, no matter how ridiculous, to help Trump win an election, defeat an impeachment, you name it. And at the time, we did know, when he was in contact with certain Ukrainians, that there had been a public statement that was the Russians passing intelligence from these Ukrainians to Rudy Giuliani and to prominent people in America in the news media. And interestingly, if you remember the old stories, some of Trump's own staff warned him that this information was tainted, if you will, by the Russians. Now, I don't think Trump ever cared, and I think that when his advisors were telling him that and leaking it to us, they were trying to cover their hindquarters because they knew that he wanted that information and was going to use it anyhow. Okay, so why is it relevant to the election? It says something about how we as voters overwhelm these bad practices, because the Russians and our local Comintern, headed by no less than Trump and all of his aides and lackeys and corrupt partners and cronies and people who defy the truth to tell us lies, all of those people were on the airwaves all the time, and in print and in media and social media. All the trolls out there trying to give us false information, trying to compromise the postal system, trying to compromise those who could vote and where they could vote. And still, we won. And we won big. We won big in the popular vote. And then even in the battleground states where Trump had some of his strongest advantages, that he lost there. And I think because Georgia was the closest, that's why he hoped if he could turn one state into his column, however corruptly he did it, that he could make that an argument why he was the one, and how the election was corrupt. And it's interesting that the stories from the beginning that the Russians were piping to us were against Biden. They must have had amazing polling techniques, because they knew before the voters in the primaries that Biden was the man. And they set out to attack him, and President then, Trump, was prepared to take on an impeachment because he knew it was so important to him. But at the base, his strategy of having 40% who would stand with him even if he shot somebody at Times Square didn't overcome the normal notion of how you win an election with a majority. And there was no way to split the vote with third-party candidates. And there was some of that when Hillary ran. So the advantages ran against Trump, and nobody can underestimate his mishandling of the pandemic affected him. Okay, so what I'm saying is that we can, now that we've learned from past interference by Russians and corrupt Americans who would sell out our country, how to deal with it. And that's what we have to do going forward. We have to deal with it. We have to be Irish fighters. We have to be fighters, all of us. And the so-called melting pot in New York may not have ever resulted in melting, but there was a time in New York when people of very diverse backgrounds and similar disadvantages and challenges worked together. And America, I think Biden is bringing it together so that we can work together. And yes, he's an Irishman, and I joke about it, but in a way, we in the diaspora are all mongrels. We're not pure Irish. We're not pure anything. And what it is we retain whatever genetic character we may have, but we all pull together as one toward making this a better democracy and fighting for that. And maybe fighting is the operative term. And there is a fighting that is legitimate and acceptable, and it is within the system. And First Amendment exertions are usually of robust speech, and that's what we have to do and continue to do. And that's how we overcame what the intelligence tells us was our obstacle. And that's what we're going to have to overcome in the future. We just have to accept it, the rules of the road. And we're going to beat these autocrats and these heartless Republicans until they learn their lesson. So that's what I'm thinking this day. Erin Go Bragh. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.